Hello and welcome to Be Shifted. My name's Addison. Thanks for joining. If you haven't seen the previous videos in this playlist, they're right here. I've been taking apart the front suspension of this 72 Chevelle, and I found through my troubles that it's all original. So a lot of work has been done to take apart the old materials, clean them up, make them rust proof so they don't fall apart, and they look great underneath the car. Today we're going to go over how I'm putting together the new steering assembly, how I cleaned up some more of the parts, like some of the previous videos. We're also going to go over how I drill and tap some of the hardware that was a little bit off when I took it out of the car. There's also a big surprise. I clean, I de-rust, I paint, I put the parts back together, they go back on the vehicle, and it's a great day. While we're here, you might as well hit the subscribe button because we're getting really good content here and I don't want you to miss it. At the same time, you might as well hit the notification bell so that you can be tuned in to everything I'm doing when I do it. Don't forget to check the links in the description for some of the parts that I've used in this entire series. They're really useful. My favorite would be the respirator. It has saved my lungs, I'm sure, at least 10 years. There's some thick rust on these parts. Get ready to be shifted. Working on more restoration stuff. I have this bolt. I have this nut. These threads are pretty marred. They're not really marred, they're just mostly rolled over. This nut is supposed to go in this receiver right here, and then this receiver actually clips onto the bottom of the shock cup, or sorry, the spring cup, and this actually it clips on like this if it's sitting like that, and the shock goes through the hole in the lower control arm, and this bolt threads through to hold the shock in place. Well, as you can see, it doesn't thread in straight, and it gets pretty bound up pretty quick. You can see there it's not straight. So I have gotten a hold of a tap and die set, and it comes with this pitch gauge, and basically you find which pitch matches up the best. Like here, that matches up perfectly. This is for an SAE. They have the standard, which is US measurements. They also have a metric kit that you can buy. But basically I'm going to be trying to cut these threads to be clean again, nice and straight again, and then I'm going to come in with the tap and do the same thing. I'll actually start from this side since this side is crooked and come back in and try to clean those up. The reason this thing is even out of this cup is because before I bought the car, somebody else had seen this problem and pretty much just tried to ram through it and busted the nut free from the clamp here. So I actually have to go back and clean the JB weld off and try to weld it again. I cannot wait until I get a real welder. What happened the last time is I got too excited when I was replacing the shocks and didn't give it enough time to set up, and tried to do what the last person did and muscle it through, and the nut ended up breaking off. So not JB Weld's fault, my fault. So I'll show you how I'm setting up for this, and we'll get these cut, get them nice and clean. So the bolt will go in here. This will clean up those threads, and then it's obviously not this one exactly, but the nut will go in the vise, and I'll come in with the tap and come in and clean up those threads that way. Look at those threads. Nice and pronounced now. Cleaned them out. This bolt is ready to go. Check this out. Previously, wouldn't even go in past the second thread. Now, got a new cut in there. Goes in and out. Super easy. There are some wonky threads in there still, but I think it's because I don't have a very high level tap kit. But this I couldn't get the bolt this far, even with a wrench on one side and a socket on the other. So this is good enough for what this needs to do. It's literally just going to be in this plate and cinched up. It'll go all the way to the top, and that's it. Now I'm going to take some acetone, get all my cutting fluid off of this, and I am going to JB weld this nut onto this plate, and I'm going to let it sit for like at least 2 days. Maybe even more, so that I can ensure that that JB weld sits, so I don't do what I did last time. Just got these drums back from getting turned. We got a nice little clean surface there. I went to my local parts store. It is, I guess it's not local, it's a chain actually. And they turned these, both of them, for $10 each. Now these, I don't think have ever been turned. They got a pretty good amount of meat on them. So, $10 each. I think it took him about an hour. I just went and ran an errand, came back. Actually, no, he called me. I ran an errand, got home, and he called me right when I got home, telling me they were done. But, yeah, I looked up the price of just one new drum. $70, folks. $70. So, if you weren't aware of getting rotors and drums turned, it can be done. Basically what they do is they take a specialty tool called a brake lathe. A brake lathe is the tool that they use. They have special cups and modifiable things to fit your rotor or your drum, and they set it up on there. They set it to the depth that they want to cut, and they cut fresh metal. If you've ever looked at a rotor or a drum, you have a pretty thick amount of surface there. There is a depth they can't go past, or that's not recommended, because the metal could end up cracking or breaking under the pressure of regular braking. But you know, if you're looking at a set of new rotors or a new set of drums, and you're looking at the prices, like, man, there's a lot of meat on these rotors, I don't need to buy brand new ones, and you're not going to get the price back in scrap, consider going over to your local parts store. Maybe give them a call and see what their rates are on getting your brakes turned, or your rotors and your drums turned, because 20 bucks is a lot cheaper than 140 in this case. So mucho savings and a budget rebuild. Basically what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to put the rust converter on the outside of them so they don't look real bad behind the rims. Rust converter and then paint, and we're good to go. You know, I'm going to spray some WD-40 on these so they don't flash rust, and then we're going to get back to work on some other stuff. Here we have our old steering linkage. We have our outer tie rod end, inner tie rod end, tie rod sleeve, center link going all the way across, tie rod end, sleeve, and idler arm. So I've kind of laid out the parts to where they need to go, the new ones. We have our new center link with grease fittings and cotter pins. Our inner tie rod is going to be the one with the grease fitting on the head, on the outer rim of the head, as opposed to where they normally put them in the back of the actual ball. That is for clearance of the oil pan when you're turning, so that Zerk fitting doesn't hit your frame if you're hitting a bump while you're turning, that kind of stuff. It just takes all that away. We have our outer tie rod end. For these kits, the part number on the outer tie rod end is TRE406R. And for the inner tie rod end, it is ES406L. The reason I say that is you're not going to really be able to tell which one's which when it's in the bag. Obviously you can check for the different grease points. This is what I was referring to. So on the outer tie rod end, your grease point is here, and on the inner, your grease point is here. But if you're looking for these parts like one-off, you know, I figure the part number might help you. So I've got 2 sets of new tie rod ends here, 2 new sleeves, and the new idler arm. For comparison, I line these things up next to each other, and you can immediately see this is an upgrade. It's quite a bit beefier. The actual arm that connects to the frame is the same length, has a little bit different geometry. It's actually turned 180 degrees. So when we go to put it on, we want that arm to be facing out like that. But I mean, just the beefiness of this. This thing is, the original is quite a bit smaller. Has to do with flex or something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but this is definitely, this new one is an upgrade. The actual ball housing is significantly larger than the old one. Taking the old hardware, cleaned it up, ran it through a tap and dye, cleaned up the threads, and then blued them. So that's why they look wet. The main thing you want to do when you're setting up your new steering linkage, you're going to have to do an alignment no matter what. But to get you to the shop, it's a good idea to take a measurement of your inner and outer tie rod end length and where they sit, so that you can potentially get it there somewhat safely and close to the settings that you had before you took it off the vehicle. So what I plan on doing is I'm going to take this tie rod and that tie rod, inner and outer, and basically I'm going to take the new sleeve, put it around that, and make sure my measurements are the same. For the inner tie rod, I just found that they are left-hand thread. Got one side down, just as long as the other one. We'll get the right side done, and then I'll come back to you when we're putting these into the center link. Now our tie rods are connected to our steering link. So that's cool. Here we have the new next to the old. You can't beat it. It looks so good. Check it out. It's all clean. It's all ready to go back in. Got my new bushings ready to be pushed in. Got my ball joints ready to go in. My bump stops ready to go in. My brakes are turned. My steering knuckles are completely assembled on both sides. Sway bar's been painted. New steering assembly linkage has been put together. Got my sway bar bushing brackets nice and clean, ready for the new bushings. All my cotter pins accounted for in their bags. Got my brand new alignment arms. Shims are set behind so I didn't forget which pack went where. Upper ball joints ready to go. And the surprise, my springs came in. They are 1-inch lowering springs. So initially, I saw this and I was like, that looks a lot like, I don't know, 4 inches? Definitely not 1 inch. Then I went and reread the instructions, and the instructions say that the free height is the only difference between stock springs and the 1-inch lowering. The free height apparently doesn't really matter because the compressed height is obviously where you want the where your height's going to come from because your vehicle's not standing free height. So we've got that. I've also got the shocks on the other side of the garage. I just forgot to bring them over here. Those are ready to go too. Here I'm using wood. I don't have angle iron. That would be obviously a lot more supportive of this. Basically, I have the steering or the alignment arm in the cup still, and I have the bushing right here and a socket up here. I don't have a cup small enough for this sleeve, and the one cup that I did have that was close, it was just a little too big, so it was just sitting on like the outer edge, and what I didn't want to happen is for that edge to roll over from the pressure. So I am expecting some flex out of this upper control arm. I imagine the wood, if anything, is probably going to pop out if it does decide to collapse, and then I'll have to figure something else out before it actually pushes in. But we're going to give her a try. First upper control arm bushing is in. We're all the way flush on both sides. It's one down, one to go. One upper control arm ready to go back in. Alright guys, thanks for making it this far. Appreciate it. This video didn't really go how I thought it was going to. Made pretty good progress with the upper control arms. Got the ball joint in, the bushings, and the alignment arms. Got some stuff tapped, finished up on that side of it. Got the brakes painted up, that was cool. My original plan was this week, get all those parts together, all the things installed and put together there, and then next week have the installation, like onto the actual car. That's not gonna happen. I think, I heard it a long time ago, but basically the old saying is, you know, you may think you only need an hour for a car job, but you better plan 6. Because inevitably something's going to happen and it's going to take longer. And that is definitely the case with this project. I'm not 100% clear on how to get these bushings into the lower control arms. I tried using wood, and wood kind of worked, but they're still crooked, and I'm not really sure what I'm doing wrong. So I am going to, I even took a hole saw. Cut a hole in that one. So I went and found some metal. I'm going to cut that up. I think it's stainless steel, so it should hold up to the pressure of the press. I'm going to take these bushings back out, cut the hole, or cut some pieces to sit inside this channel and in between these 2 points to provide support to where basically the arm is flexing like this, and on top of that, this part is actually pinching, and when that happens, it's pinching on the outside and it's not pinching evenly. So, and that's mainly because I only had a piece of wood sitting on this lip, so when I'm pushing, it's squeezing the outsides. So the top of the bushing is getting in, but it's coming in at such an angle where it's not coming in even, and it actually looks like I'm just basically curving this side in. So I need to fix that, and that is going to take some time. So I'm not sure how long it will be until the next video is released. I'm definitely going to document this and make sure that you all see what I'm trying to do here and how I'm trying to fix it. But at night, I'm not sure how long it's going to be until this stuff goes back on the car. So just being real with you, this is real life. If you saw any tools in this video that you liked, please check the description for those. I have links going directly to them on Amazon. If you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like, maybe even consider subscribing, and hit that notification bell. Make sure you get notifications on when I upload new videos. Thanks for watching this long, and I hope you were shifted.